I think Peyton is a lot further along now in terms of confidence, in terms of the way that he's going out here playing. I think you see him now from a physicality standpoint that he's not hesitant whatsoever. Like he's going and he's on the attack every time he runs the ball. So I think the biggest deal now for us is just continue to teach him to grow that next aspect of the game in terms of winning on the free hat, in terms of making people miss, and you don't have to be a bowling ball every time. But I think he's done a really good job from a developmental standpoint to where he is now. Dylan's has been good from a workload standpoint. I know last week wasn't as heavy as it's been being in the past, but, you know, he did a really good job of being able to control what he can control and take advantage of his opportunities and did a phenomenal job with his reps that he was given.
Coach, what's it say about you as a coach that over your first year here, you get a guy that's going to break the school record? No, I'm just seriously, but on Dylan, how do you guys manage? I mean, how would you manage the workload, you know, if he's, 50 yards away in a tight game?
You know what? I think that's one of them situations we got to cross that bridge. Hopefully, when we get there. The biggest deal is it's been a blessing to coach him and to see his progression all year long, and how hungry he's been, and not only hungry from a standpoint of being on the field, wanting to be a playmaker, but also a hunger standpoint in terms of wanting to be a leader, wanting to bring the younger guys along in the room. Even at practice, like watching him coach up the younger guys has been phenomenal. Because I think the number one deal is they see the traits that he has, they see the leadership characteristics, and they see what hard work does for you. And he's the prime example of that, which has been good.
Coach, what are you thankful for this holiday season?
Number one, being able to be here. I'm thankful for that. God's blessed me and my family this opportunity to be able to come to this university and be a part of this program, which has been phenomenal. And then, thankful for my family that I have inside this building, thankful for my family that I got at home, and just thankful to be able to be alive, to be honest with you.
Coach, back to Peyton, how much can a young kid like that grow up at a game like Georgia? I mean, how much more valuable is an experience like that versus, 20 practices?
I think that experience, when he went out there and he was able to make the plays and gain the yards that he did, you could see his confidence raised to another level. Like, he's always been confident in himself, but to be able to do it in that environment, on that stage, gave him another level of confidence, and you saw it just grow tremendously. And everything about him now, like, the 20 practices, no matter how many practices you get against, your own teammates, but to be able to go do that in that environment and on that stage, that gives you tremendous confidence when you're able to go out there and have success. So it was really good.
When you look at Dylan, and he's challenging some SEC records. He's already broken a lot of Tennessee records. There's a lot of national awards right now, All-American teams that we're all voting on. How do you see him stacking up against the best backs in the country?
Oh, he's the best back in the country, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? In terms of the production that he's been able to produce, especially in this league, in this conference. Number one, being able to be with him every single day, the way that he goes and attacks the process, and, the things that he's been able to do from a tenacity standpoint in terms of, when the team needs a spark plug, he's able to be that guy that jumpstarts it. Coach Hype always talks about it only takes one match to start a fire, and a lot of times we get in critical situations, and he's that guy that jumpstarts the fire, that gets us rolling in the right way. So in my opinion, he's the best back in the country.
Coach, a lot of times we hear about culture inside the room, inside the walls, and chemistry. What's the chemistry like with the coaching staff and you guys working together to get to your end goal and get the most out of your team?
It's really good. It's a competitive environment in terms of everyone is trying to push each other, continue to grow. I think the thing that you see is there's no egos in the room, and that's on offense, defense, and in special teams. Like, everybody's working together to make each other better, which has been tremendous. And I think you see that pour over into our whole entire team. That is no separation whatsoever. Everybody's locked in, 10 toes down together, and that's been phenomenal. But the thing about it is each coach that sits around that table, they pour into each other. And it's one of those situations that you're learning from each other. And I think that's why, from this point that we're on right now in this season, and it's kind of been that way the whole season, is that we continue to get better and better week in and week out because, I may see something that another coach is doing and vice versa, and we're able to give each other tips and pointers from that standpoint. So it's awesome.
Earlier, Peyton Lewis was talking about how he approaches practice. He says he tries to do it like a pro, smash it in the mouth kind of thing. How much has that attitude lended itself to him getting the opportunities he's gotten on the field?
It's been a big help for him. I think with Peyton, as he goes about this, like the way he approaches the meeting room and then he carries that over into practice, like he's not a guy that comes out there and it's about fun and games. It's about business when he steps on the field. So his mentality kind of changes totally. Like when he steps between the white lines, his face goes stone cold, and he's about his business. Now, he's critical of himself. You know, it's a lot of times, like early in the game on Saturday, he missed one cut, and he was critical of himself. I said, man, listen, it's going to come back to you. Just calm down. It's going to come back to you, and it did later in the game, so that was awesome.
Darrell, is there anything about Dylan that surprised you once you got here? Anything that about his game, anything about his personality? Was there anything that you thought, this is better than I thought it was?
To be honest with you, the physicality portion of it, to be able to see him go in there like you see him now, but going in from a pass protection standpoint, the way he goes in there, he's aggressive and he's attacking. As many tackles as he breaks when he's running the ball, like you always knew about the explosiveness aspect of it. You always knew about him being able to make people miss. But when you see him inside the line of scrimmage in the box and as many tackles as he breaks and as many yards that he's gaining at the contact, you know, that's the part about his game that I was like, okay, he's taking this thing to another level. But everything else from a personality standpoint, a work ethic standpoint, I already knew about that, and he was awesome.
As a follow-up to that, do you think the rest of the country recognizes how complete of a back he is? And then, two, what's the challenge running the football against Vanderbilt on Saturday?
You know, I do think the rest of the country understands that about him. I think everybody kind of sees week in and week out the production and the consistency that he's been able to have. So I do think that they recognize that. With Vanderbilt, I think the number one deal is they're going to play physical, they're going to play tough. I mean, you sit up there and you look at their front seven, they do a really good job in terms of being able to get on and get off blocks, but they're physical. In terms of those front four do a phenomenal job of playing directly into the offensive linemen. The linebackers do a really good job of playing downhill. I mean, everything that they do is textbook-wise in terms of how they fit the gaps versus the runs, whether that's zone runs or gap schemes. And then the secondary ties into that as well. Like you see through that defense, the personality of the head coach. You see it from a cerebral standpoint in terms of how they lining up schematically, and then you see the physicality portion in terms of how they're attacking and going to attack people in terms of running the football. And they've done that all season long. Like, it has not been a drop-off. You see that consistently with them. No matter what the structure is, they're on the attack, and they're doing a really good job of being physical.
Coach, Brent asked my Vandy question, so I'll
Okay.
pivot. The college football poll comes out tonight, and Tennessee should be back in. How do you guys handle that as a unit, as a team, when you're out there on practice getting ready for a big game like Vandy this week?
Being able to control what we can control. The number one deal is how we go out here and attack this practice, but the biggest deal is how we go out here and execute in the games. Like, everything outside of this building is going to take care of itself, but we have to be able to go out and control our execution in terms of how we operate, and then also the efficiency that we're doing it with. And then going out here having fun. Like, you got to enjoy this moment. Like, the biggest deal is it's Thanksgiving weekend. You're playing on a national stage in a big game that we've earned the right to be in. Like, that is nothing better than that. So we control what we can control inside this building, which is our attitude and our effort, and then everything outside of that, it'll take care of itself. Awesome. Appreciate y'all.